They don't shout. They don't always show themselves. But they are the ones who shake the foundations of hell, the true worshippers. The devil does not fear those who attend church. He fears those who carry the church. He does not fear the songs. He fears the presence behind the songs. In a world saturated with powerless religion, God seeks worshippers in spirit and truth. John chapter 4, verse 23. And when he finds them, the kingdom of darkness goes on red alert. Here are 16 powerful revelations that explain why true worshippers are the terror of hell. Evidence that disturbs hell. Here's a little preached truth. The greatest spiritual wars are not waged by exorcists, but by worshippers. History shows that every spiritual revival began with authentic worship. In Acts 16, 25-26, Paul and Silas worship God in prison. The chains fall, the gates open, and hell breaks loose. This isn't a poetic story. It's a documented spiritual weapon. Every time you worship in times of trial, you humiliate Satan. Why? Because he can't understand a heart that loves God unconditionally. Worship as a weapon of war. Worship is not an emotional moment, it is a declaration of war. It says to hell, "You do not control my peace." By worshiping, you shift the battlefield. You bring God into the fight. In 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 22, the singers marched at the head of Jehoshaphat's army. The result? God has confused the enemy camp. Worship is the official invitation to God to intervene. And when God enters, hell comes out. Hell hates intimacy. The devil has seen God's throne. Ezekiel 28:13-15. He knows what true worship feels like, and since his fall, he's been doing everything he can to keep you away from it. Why? Because he knows that worship restores the intimacy he himself lost forever. When you worship, you draw near to the throne. You make the heavens vibrate. And every time you enter it, you remind him of his eternal defeat. He can't bear to see what you have, which he can never have again. Worship renders hell powerless. A true worshipper no longer depends on his atmosphere. He becomes the atmosphere. He can be in the depths of a prison, a desert, or a morning, and still lift up God. Job has lost everything, yet he bows down. Job chapter 1, verse 20. The result? Satan is silenced. Worship in pain is a language hell does not understand. It's a silent yet overwhelming victory. And this victory crushes demons without you having to name them. Worship changes your spiritual identity. Worshipping God doesn't make you better. It makes you dangerous. When you worship, you bear His glory. And His glory, hell cannot look upon it. Moses was transformed so that his face shone. Exodus chapter 34, verse 29. A true worshiper becomes spiritually unrecognizable. You are no longer just a target, you become a threat. You are no longer on the defensive, you are on the offensive. This is why hell always tries to distract your worship. Worship attracts heaven. What you cannot overcome with logic, you can overturn with worship. When you worship, you attract the active presence of God. And where He reigns, darkness flees. Psalm 22:4 says that God sits amidst the praises of His people. This means that every time you worship, you are building a throne. And where He sits, the enemy no longer has authority. Worship is the ultimate sabotage against the kingdom of darkness. Hell cannot manipulate a worshiper. The enemy manipulates through emotion, fear, and circumstance. But a worshiper is connected to the unalterable. He doesn't react, he reigns. He doesn't panic, he proclaims. In Daniel chapter 3, verses 16 to 18, the three Hebrews refuse to bow down before the statue. Why? Because they knew the one they worshipped. The fire did not reach them because they had already burned away all compromise in the presence of God. Worship repositions you spiritually. You cannot remain weak if you spend time in His glory. Worship elevates you, hardens you, and purifies you. Isaiah was overwhelmed by the heavenly vision. Isaiah chapter 6, verses 1 to 7. But after worship, he became a messenger. Worship is not a refuge, it is a field of transformation. It repositions you as an ambassador, and hell fears those who know who they are. You no longer ask God to act, you act under His authority. Worship closes the doors to the enemy. There is no true worship without true consecration. When you live to please God, you become forbidden territory for hell. Romans chapter 12, verse 1 tells us that our reasonable worship is to present our bodies as a living sacrifice. This is a radical act, and this act closes off access. A heart occupied by God has no more room for the devil's strategies. Angels respond to worship. Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14 says that angels are ministering spirits to those who are to inherit salvation. And in Revelation, they consistently respond to worship. Revelation chapter 5, verses 11 to 13. Your worship activates the spiritual world. It summons heaven. It sends out glory alerts. And when heaven mobilizes, hell paralyzes. This is why the enemy seeks to divert your worship to modern idols. Worship transcends seasons. A worshiper doesn't wait for everything to be fine. He worships in times of need, illness, and misunderstanding. This disarms the devil. He asks himself, why does he still worship? Habakkuk chapter 3, verses 17-19 shows us a prophet who decides to rejoice despite the drought. Authentic worship is not circumstantial, it is relational. And there, hell loses all emotional influence. Worship sanctifies the atmosphere. A place of worship becomes a place of sanctification. David played the harp, and the evil spirits left Saul. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 23. When you worship, you release a divine frequency. It cleanses the atmosphere, purifies the space, and repels impure presences. This is why in some homes there is peace when worship is taking place, and oppression when it is no longer the case. Worship awakens God's call. Those who worship hear God, not just His voice, but His heart. In Acts chapter 13, verse 2, the apostles were fasting and worshiping, and the Holy Spirit spoke. Worship aligns you with heaven. You receive instructions, direction, and confirmation. And when you move forward according to God's plan, you become unstoppable. Hell fears those who walk in their calling. Worship breaks inner chains. You can pray hard and remain bound, but you cannot truly worship and remain enslaved. Worship even frees you from yourself, from your blockages, your addictions, your ego. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17 says, "Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty." And worship attracts that spirit. It makes you light, free, powerful. And a free believer makes hell panic. Worship prepares for the King's return. True worshipers prepare a generation. They are not looking for a show, but an atmosphere for Jesus' return. Matthew chapter 24, verse 14 says that the gospel will be preached in all the world, and then the end will come. Worship opens spiritual doors, prepares ground, transforms hearts. It is the sound of the bride making herself ready. And Satan knows that his end is tied to this sound. The weapon hell can never steal. You can lose possessions, your health, even relationships. But no one can steal your worship. It's within you. It's sacred. It's eternal. Romans chapter 8, verse 37 says, "In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." This is why hell is afraid of worshippers. They never give up. Even in death, they proclaim life. Become what hell fears. Hell is not afraid of religious people. It is not afraid of lifeless titles, programs, or songs. It is afraid of those who love God more than anything. True worshippers are few, but they are powerful. They change atmospheres. They push back darkness. They activate the sky. Today, decide to become that voice that hell recognizes and fears, not by force, but by real, burning, indestructible worship. Hell trembles when a true worshipper rises.